You know that feeling? You absolutely love those epic anime soundtracks. You hear the melodies, the huge brass hits, you feel the whole emotional journey in a big fight scene.
Hmm.
And you've got some music theory chops, you know your way around scales, you can operate Cubase reasonably well.
Right. You know the tools.
But then you sit down to write, and you hit this wall. The source material we're diving into today, it just nailed this feeling with a quote. It said, "What you make feels flat, amateur,
Oof. Oh.
like a fan project, not those incredible soaring scores that really give anime its heart and soul."
That's the gap, isn't it, between knowing about something and actually doing it at a professional level? Our audience, they're talented, they know their virtual instruments, they understand D-Dobler controls, but that amateur sound just lingers. And the source says it's because the music sounds MIDI-heavy instead of orchestral and alive. It's clunky.
Yeah, robotic sometimes.
Exactly. And the problem isn't that you haven't watched enough tutorials. Lord knows there are millions out there. It's the lack of a real system, a cohesive approach.
All right, just scattered tips here and there. Don't build a workflow.
Precisely. You're missing that integrated professional method that turns, a sequence of MIDI notes into something polished, something competitive, something alive.
Okay, so that's our mission today. We're going to analyze what the creators of this particular course are calling an immersion system.
Mm-hmm.
The course is titled Anime Soundtrack Orchestration in Cubase. And look, it's positioning itself as more than just a collection of videos. It's framed as a total transformation.
A big claim.
It is. They're promising that in just 12 weeks, you can get past making those fan-sounding projects and actually orchestrate 2 fully polished anime-style cues.
2 specific ones.
Yeah, a battle track one that sounds like it belongs in the industry, and a really moving emotional theme. And get this, they also weave in strategies for growing your audience, like using Patreon or YouTube.
Okay, so it's not just craft, it's career thinking, too.
Exactly. That's not a minor promise. It's basically positioning itself as a career accelerator for composers in this niche.
Well, the way they frame their teaching philosophy, that might be what makes such a bold claim actually achievable. They call it the immersion learning revelation.
Right, I saw that. Intriguing name.
It is. And the core idea is to stop thinking about composition like studying history dates. Instead, think of it like learning a language.
Okay. How so?
Well, how do you really master French or Japanese? You don't just memorize vocabulary lists in your bedroom.
No, you ideally go there. You live there.
Exactly. You move there, you live inside the language, 204/7. This course, it aims to do the same thing for composition. Put the composer inside the actual day-to-day workflow of a professional anime scorer.
Ah, I see. So moving beyond just passive learning to active immersion. That framework really resonates because, that's often where online courses fall short, isn't it?
Totally. You watch a video, maybe you try the technique once, but it doesn't stick. It doesn't become muscle memory.
This immersion idea suggests internalizing the craft until it's second nature. And they deliver it, apparently, through a 200-on-4/7 immersion system. What does that actually involve?
Well, it's multimodal, which is smart. There's video instruction, naturally, but also dedicated audio training track stuff you can listen to while commuting, doing chores, even gaming.
Okay, that's clever. Fits into life more easily.
Yeah, absorbs the concepts passively. Then there are detailed text guides for quick lookups, templates, and crucially structured community feedback circles, so you're not learning in a vacuum.
That whole package, that structure, sounds like the key differentiator. It's not just random tips anymore. It's a system.
And they lean into that system idea hard. They position this as a school on X solution X, presumably being their platform name.
And they use a pretty bold metaphor to back it up.
They do. They say straight up, this isn't a pile of content. It's a Tesla-style system engineered for transformation.
Okay, Tesla-style system. That's ambitious marketing language. What do we think that actually means in the context of learning orchestration?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Because it implies more than just good. It suggests peak efficiency, streamlined design, integration.
Right. My interpretation, it probably means focusing on a really integrated workflow over just learning isolated techniques. In a Tesla, everything works together seamlessly. There's no wasted effort, no clunky parts bolted on. So here, that likely translates to the Cubase templates, the specific virtual instruments they recommend, the mixing approach, the composition theory. It's all designed to harmonize perfectly.
Yeah.
You're not patching together methods from 10 different YouTube channels.
Exactly. You learn one clean, optimized system. It's engineered for speed and professional results right from the beginning.
It's about removing the friction points, the things that cause music to sound amateur, like hours wasted figuring out routing issues, or using instrument layers that just don't gel, or fighting a mix that sounds muddy no matter what you do.
Precisely, eliminating those roadblocks. So let's actually dig into the engine of the system. Where does it start? Like all good professional work, right? Foundation and setup.
Okay, let's unpack this step by step. Section 1. Foundation and palette. This seems logical. It kicks off with Module 1. Introduction to Anime Music and Workflow in Cubase.
Right, setting the stage. And the description says it explores the unique characteristics of anime soundtracks.
Which is important context.
Absolutely. But for our listener who probably already has a decent handle on Cubase basics, this module isn't just here's the play button. It immediately connects those core genre traits, the big emotion, the memorable melody, the drama, to the technical setup in Cubase.
So it's practical from the get-go.
Very. The real value here, I think, is setting up what you called the professional engine room. That means nailing efficient instrument routing, maybe using expression maps, track folders, the whole 9 yards, optimizing your system so it can actually handle those huge orchestral templates without choking.
Yeah, CPU overload is a killer.
It really is. And locking in those workflow habits, little things that separate hobbyists from pros. If your initial Cubase template isn't built for scale and speed, you're going to hit a performance wall the second you try to write a full orchestral 2D section. This module aims to prevent that.
Makes sense. Build the chassis before you try to race. So once the engine room is sorted, you need the actual sounds, the colors. That leads to Module 2, building an orchestral palette for anime scoring.
Yep, getting your paints ready.
And the goal here is explicit. Designing a versatile orchestral template that captures that lush, expressive sound of anime music. This sounds like the direct answer to that MIDI-heavy problem we talked about.
It absolutely has to be. This is where you stop thinking about your sample libraries as just banks of sounds and start treating them like actual expressive instruments.
Right, more than just triggering notes.
Way more. The module dives into choosing and organizing the essential orchestral instruments, sure. But the real technical leap for the listener, the thing that makes the difference, is mastering the art of layering strings, brass, and woodwinds for impact.
Okay, layering for impact. What does that look like in practice?
Well, it's not just stacking 3 violin patches on top of each other. It's about using different libraries, maybe combining a close mic patch with a room mic patch, or layering a sharp spiccato string articulation underneath a smoother legato patch to get both bite and sustain.
Creating depth and texture through combination.
Exactly. You're blending timbres and articulation strategically, maybe layering different brass libraries to get both the warmth of one and the blad of another. It's finding that balance between realism, making it sound like real players, and expressive flexibility, getting that larger-than-life sound. That balance is the hallmark of a pro score.
Okay, so palette established, engine running smoothly. Now, the heart of anime music, Module 3, melody writing for emotional impact. This feels central.
It has to be. Anime scores live and die by their melodies. This module, it's pitched as the emotional core, focused on crafting themes that are genuinely memorable, really emotive, not just okay tunes.
Like tunes that stick with you after the episode ends.
Precisely. And for a composer who already knows theory, knowing what a motif or a leitmotif isn't the challenge. The challenge is writing one that feels authentically anime, that Japanese cinematic feel, right?
Yeah, that specific flavor.
And then, crucially, translating that musical idea into a human-sounding performance inside the DW. That's the hard part. So this module covers the practical side, using motifs, leitmotifs, recurring thematic ideas. But the key technical piece they mention is applying this via Cubase MIDI editing for expressive phrasing.
So getting granular with the MIDI data.
Exactly. Teaching things like advanced velocity curves, really sculpting dynamics with CC1 mod wheel and CC11 expression data to create those beautiful swells and fades. Maybe nudging timing slightly, using humanization features thoughtfully so the phrase breathes and doesn't sound like it's locked to a grid.
Getting rid of the machine feel.
That's the goal, and the tangible result they promise for mastering this. Q1, main character theme, your first big, polished piece.
Okay, that makes sense. Establish the theme first. Then you need to support it harmonically. Module 4, harmony and chord progressions in anime music.
Right, giving that melody a sophisticated home. This is where the course seems to elevate basic harmony knowledge into genre-specific storytelling. It's about using chords to create that dynamic emotional movement anime is known for.
Going beyond the standard IVEV stuff.
Oh, definitely. This module introduces what they call the advanced harmonic toolkit needed for the genre's emotional weight. We're talking about moving beyond simple diatonic chords into richer territory. It covers common chord progressions in anime soundtracks, sure, but digs into the specific use of borrowed chords, modal interchange, and modulations.
Tools for adding complexity and surprise.
Exactly. But what's really crucial is how you orchestrate these harmonic shifts. When you modulate keys, how do you handle that in the arrangement? Is it a sudden, dramatic cut for shock value? Or do you smooth it over with a common tone or a pivot chord to create a sense of nostalgia or wonder?
The execution matters as much as the concept.
Absolutely. The course structure implies it'll show how to layer these harmonies effectively, whether you're writing for purely orchestral textures or blending in synths. And this provides the framework for Q2, romantic or nostalgic theme. It directly links that complex theory to producing real emotional impact.
All right, moving into section 2. We've got the foundation, the palette, melody, harmony. Now it seems we're drilling down into specific orchestral techniques and that modern hybrid sound, starting with Module 5, rhythmic drive and orchestral textures.
Yeah, this is about giving the music energy, momentum, learning how to make it run, like you said.
It's not just about playing notes in time.
Not at all. This module is about shifting from basic beat keeping to creating real dynamic propulsion, exploring how you build tension and excitement not just with chords, but with relentless rhythmic patterns. They focus on orchestral rhythm patterns for action and drama. Think chase scenes, escalating tension.
Ostinatos.
Big time. And specifically, the strategic use of percussion and ostinatos in anime scoring. But the real depth here seems to be in the texture of those rhythms.
What do you mean by texture and rhythm?
Well, it's about how you layer those repeating figures. You might have short, detached notes, spiccato or staccato in the strings or woodwinds. The module needs to teach how to layer these ostinatos, maybe using different rhythmic subdivisions or placing them in different registers, all working together to create that sense of frantic energy without just turning into mushy noise.
Clarity even within complexity.
Exactly. Avoiding rhythmic mud. Mastering that specific kind of layering directly feeds into orchestrating Q3. Action chase theme. It's a very practical application.
Okay, that makes sense. Next, a big one. Probably the section that defines the emotional core for many. Module 6. String writing for anime soundtracks.
The heart and soul.
Absolutely. The source material flags strings as critical for that emotional depth and intensity. And let's be honest, this is often where MIDI mockups fall flat the hardest. Getting strings right is tough.
It's non-negotiable for this genre, and this module seems to understand the challenge. It talks about differentiating between lush legato writing versus energetic spiccato passages, but it's more than just knowing the difference.
It's controlling them in the DA.
Precisely. Knowing the specific MIDI CCs, the velocity layers, the key switches, maybe even the specific sample library scripting needed for each articulation to sound convincing. For legato, that means mastering things like portamento control for those smooth slides between notes. For spiccato or staccato, it's about getting the velocity consistent and the timing super tight.
And those iconic swells.
Ah, yes. They specifically promised to teach the signature anime string swells and emotional lifts, which technically in Cubase, that's a real feat. It demands incredibly controlled dynamic ramps, probably using CC1 and CC11 in tandem, careful automation of volume envelopes.
Layering again?
Often, yes. You might layer a really aggressive, loud, sustained patch underneath a more lyrical, smoother patch. You bring in the aggressive patch just for the peak of the swell to get that massive soaring effect without it sounding fake or digitally harsh. It's intricate work.
And mastering that leads to?
The payoff is Q4, emotional tragic theme, a piece that relies heavily on expressive string writing.
Makes sense. Okay, from strings to the power sections. Module 7, brass and woodwinds for drama and heroism.
Right, bringing the color and the punch. This module looks at how to use these sections for specific narrative effects.
Like fanfares and flutes.
Sort of, yeah. It focuses on bold brass writing for climactic moments. Think heroic themes, massive impacts, often using those short, punchy stabs or big, wide intervals. And then using woodwinds for warmth, color, and playfulness in lighter moments or to add detail.
But the real trick is making them play nice together,
Yeah.
right? Especially with the strings.
That's the pro-level challenge they highlight. Combining brass woodwinds with strings for balance. Because when the whole orchestra is going full blast, a 2D section, things can get really messy fast, especially in the low-mid frequencies where you've got French horns, trombones, maybe tubas, cellos, basses, all competing for space.
The dreaded mud zone.
Exactly. So the course has to teach techniques like precise EQ carving, maybe cutting certain frequencies in the horns to make space for the cellos, and using panning and reverb strategically within Cubase to give each section its own space in the stereo field. You need the brass attack to cut through, but not drown out the sustained string harmony.
Getting that balance right is key for clarity.
Absolutely essential. And nailing this results in Q5, heroic theme.
Okay, now we step into the modern era. Module 8. Hybrid orchestration combining orchestra with modern elements. This feels unavoidable for contemporary anime scores.
Oh, it's a necessity. That super polished high production sound often relies heavily on this blend. It's about integrating traditional orchestra with synths, electronic percussion, effects.
So this is where Cubase's electronic music tools come into play.
Big time. This module bridges the gap between orchestral composition and sound design, really. The goal is seamless integration, making the synths and the samples feel like they belong together, recorded in the same space. They mention covering pads, synth bass, and sound design in Cubase, choosing synth textures that complement the orchestra, not fight it.
That sounds tricky. How do you balance them?
That's the core skill, balancing acoustic and digital soundscapes. It often involves some pretty sophisticated mixing techniques. Think EQ masking, maybe sidechain compression, like making a synth pad subtly duck in volume whenever the main string melody plays, so the orchestra always feels like the primary focus.
Ah, clever. So the electronic support, they don't dominate.
Ideally, yes. Unless the cue demands it, of course. Mastering this sophisticated blend provides the foundation needed for Q6, sci-fi or futuristic theme, where that hybrid approach is often front and center.
But it's not all epic battles and spaceships. A good composer needs range. Module 9 addresses this, writing for intimacy and slice-of-life moments.
Yeah, dialing it way back,
Mm-hmm.
moving from the huge scale to the small personal moments. This is the test of subtlety.
Less is more, sometimes.
Often, yeah. The module focuses on techniques for piano and small ensemble writing, using sparse textures for quiet, heartfelt cues. It's about using orchestration, or the lack of it, to highlight character nuances, not blast over them.
So careful instrument choices.
Very careful. Maybe just a solo cello line over a simple piano progression, or a single clarinet with lots of space around it. And knowing how to use reverb and panning in Cubase, not just for realism, but to create that feeling of intimate vulnerability or quiet reflection.
It shows mastery of the full dynamic range, not just loud.
Exactly. It demonstrates versatility. And this skill results in Q7, slice of life theme, proving you can handle the quiet moments just as effectively as the epic ones.
Okay, we've built the toolkit: melody, harmony, rhythm, strings, brass, winds, hybrid elements, even intimacy. Now, Section 3 looks like it's about putting it all together on a grand scale and getting it ready for the world. Starting with the big one, Module 10, large-scale action and battle scoring.
Right. The ultimate stress test for an orchestral template and a composer's skill. This is where everything comes together.
This sounds like it separates the contenders from the pretenders.
Absolutely. This module is pitched as the proving ground. It's about moving beyond just writing fast music to constructing a truly massive, intricate, but still controlled battle cue. It demands mastery of full orchestral 2D writing, getting every section firing on all cylinders, but ensuring they still sound distinct, not just a wall of noise.
Layering again, but on a massive scale.
On the largest scale, they emphasize advanced rhythmic layering for intensity. This isn't just one simple string ostinato anymore. You might have multiple interlocking 16th note patterns, maybe divided between first and second violins, layered with a driving synth arpeggio, complex woodwind runs, and intricate, powerful percussion patterns all happening at once.
Well, keeping that organized must be tough.
Extremely. The course promises specific orchestration tricks for epic battle sequences. This probably includes things like knowing how to double low brass instruments with certain synth-based patches to get that massive sub-bass impact you hear in modern film and anime scores, without making the acoustic instruments sound muddy.
Ah, reinforcing the low-end electronically.
It's a common trick for that cinematic weight.
Mhm.
And applying all this expertise immediately produces Q8, battle theme, a core piece for any composer's demo reel in this genre.
Okay, so you've got the intense battle, but battles need resolution, climaxes need emotional weight. Module 11 focuses on orchestration for climactic moments.
Yeah, this isn't just about being loud or fast. It's about structured grandeur, building towards that peak and delivering the emotional payoff. A climax needs careful architecture.
How do they teach building it?
They mention techniques for building to orchestral climaxes. This often involves managing register carefully, maybe starting the build-up in the lower instruments and gradually expanding upwards, bringing in the high strings, the piccolo, the trumpets, soaring above everything else to increase that feeling of brightness and tension.
And adding more layers.
Definitely. We see the integration of choir and hybrid layering for epic scale. Adding voices, whether sampled or synthesized, really ramps up the emotional stakes. And technically, that means managing the complex sonic relationships when you blend choir samples, which have their own acoustics, with big synth pads or orchestral textures.
It's like a mixing challenge, too.
Huge one. The end goal is creating those final cathartic and memorable endings. The big emotional release the audience has been waiting for. This module seems crucial for polishing those first two key deliverables promised at the start, resulting in Q9, final battle theme, presumably Q8 refined, and Q10, victory resolution theme.
Bringing it all home. Which leads logically to the final step.
Yeah.
Module 12, final cue production and portfolio assembly. It's not enough to just write the music.
Nope. You need to make it sound professional and package it effectively. This is the capstone module, where the technical skill meets the practical reality of being a working composer.
Mixing and mastering.
Essential and often overlooked. It covers mixing and mastering anime cues in Cubase. And crucially, this isn't just generic advice. It has to be genre-specific mixing, focusing on achieving that wide dynamic range typical of anime, emphasizing frequencies that make strings clear and percussion powerful, getting the right balance between dialogue, if applicable, and music.
Tailored to the anime sound profile.
Exactly. And they focus on ensuring consistency across all 12 tracks. This is vital. You want your portfolio pieces to sound like they belong together, like a cohesive soundtrack album, not just a random collection of tracks mixed on different days with different ears.
So it functions as a unified body of work.
Precisely. The course makes a strong guarantee here. Learners graduate with 12 fully polished anime-style cues, including the kind of functional tracks needed for a full score, like Q11, end credits theme, and even Q12, full dramatic suite, perhaps weaving themes together. This delivers immediate, tangible, professional readiness. You walk away with a portfolio.
Wow, okay. That progression from basic Cubase setup all the way through advanced orchestration, hybrid techniques, and final mastering it feels incredibly thorough, integrated like they claimed.
It really does seem to cover all the bases for this specific niche.
So let's circle back to section 4, the value proposition. We touched on the learning structure earlier, that multimodal advantage, how it caters to different learning styles.
Right. And that's a big deal. Standard video courses often leave some learners behind. Here, if you're visual, you get the Cubase project breakdowns, you see the notes on the screen, the automation curves.
If you're auditory,
You've got those composer commentary tracks. You can absorb the thinking behind the decisions while you're driving or whatever. Kinesthetic learners, they get the hands-on project files, the templates to actually work with.
and the reading writing types.
Text guides, checklists, quick reference sheets. They seem to have designed it so that your preferred learning style isn't a barrier to success. You can engage with the material in multiple ways.
Which ties back directly to that core promise,
Yeah.
transformation. The social proof examples they provide in the source material really drive home what that shift looks like for actual students.
Yeah, those examples are specific and relatable, like the person going from making thin piano sketches that just felt weak.
We've all been there.
Haven't we just? To producing a full-blown battle theme that genuinely sounds like anime and crucially becomes their most viewed upload on YouTube. That shows the system works not just for the art, but for getting noticed.
And the other example?
Focused on emotional impact. Someone saying, basically, I had no clue how to make string sound good in Cubase. Now, the emotional cue I wrote actually made my friends cry.
Wow.
And my first Patreon supporter signed up because of it. That's technical skill translating directly into measurable emotional connection and the beginnings of monetization. That's powerful.
Definitely. And what about that slightly futuristic element? They mentioned the AI anime orchestration coach, saving time on trial and error, feeling like a pro is checking your work. How valuable do you think that really is for someone already skilled in Cubase? Is it just a gimmick?
That's a fair question, especially for a technically savvy audience. Look, the AI probably isn't going to teach you artistic taste or groundbreaking composition techniques. It's not going to replace a human mentor for deep artistic feedback. But its value is almost certainly in the mechanics. Think about how much time composers waste debugging technical issues. The AI could potentially instantly flag things like velocity conflicts causing muddiness between instruments, maybe basic voice leading errors you missed, or even just warning you if you wrote a line outside the practical range of an instrument.
Okay, so like an automated technical proofreader.
Exactly. It handles the low-level friction checks, the stuff that's necessary but tedious. It frees up the composer's mental energy, maybe 90% of it, to focus purely on the artistic side. The expression, the melody, the harmony, the story. And in that sense, the time it saves could be huge. Time is always the most valuable resource, right?
Absolutely. Speaking of resources, let's talk investment, the cost. The source material makes a point of contrasting this course with, say, hiring a personal orchestration coach, which can run into thousands or just the years you might waste trying to piece it all together yourself from free sources.
There's a real cost, that lost time and potential.
So the price for this whole 12-week immersion system, they stated as just $97.
Which is remarkably accessible, aggressively priced, you might say.
Yeah.
Clearly aimed at getting that initial group, that founding cohort, on board quickly and building momentum.
But there's a catch, or rather an urgency factor. It's explicitly a founding member-only offer.
Right, and it has a specific start date tied to it, November 25, 2025. That limited time, limited spot approach makes sense for a launch. It allows them to give more focused attention to that first group, refine the community feedback aspects, make sure everything runs smoothly.
And they sweeten the deal significantly for those founding members with bonuses. These aren't just random add-ons either.
No, they seem strategically chosen. First, the Cubase template pack. That's huge. You're not starting from a blank screen. You immediately get an industry-standard routing and track setup. That alone saves hours, maybe days of setup time.
Right. Second,
The Patreon YouTube Growth Playbook for composers. This directly addresses that other promise of the course, helping you build an audience for your music, practical strategies for monetization and reach.
and the third bonus feels like the most high-touch one.
Definitely the most personalized. A private feedback session on your emotional cue. Getting direct, one-on-one analysis from a professional on one of your core pieces of work. That kind of specific, actionable advice on where your orchestration is hitting the mark or where it needs work, that's arguably worth the price of admission by itself.
Absolutely. So the urgency is real. The offer, the bonuses, they're tied to being in that first founding group. It pressures a decision for anyone who's serious about making this leap.
Makes perfect sense from a launch perspective.
Okay, so let's try and crystallize the overall takeaway here. The destination promised is pretty clear. In 12 weeks, you, the listener, potentially move from feeling stuck with flat, fan-level music
That frustrating MIDI sound.
to producing fully orchestrated anime cues that sound professional. And not just sound good, but are created alongside a strategy to actually build an audience and maybe even start earning from your music.
The pathway seems logical too. Starting with the Cubase setup, the engine room, moving through the core components, melody, harmony, rhythm. Then mastering the specific instrumental sections, strings, brass, woodwinds, integrating hybrid elements. And finally, professional mixing, mastering, and portfolio assembly. It's comprehensive.
It really covers the technical side within Cubase, those specific orchestration techniques like the string swells and the big 2D sections, and even the business side with the audience growth stuff.
Right, we hit all those points. But maybe we can leave our listener, who's clearly dedicated enough to be diving this deep with us, with one final thought. Something that goes a bit beyond just the list of modules and techniques.
Okay, go deeper. What's the ultimate shift here?
Well, beyond mastering, modal interchange or advanced rhythmic layering or getting your brass to sit perfectly in the mix within Cubase, all crucial skills, the real transformation this course seems to be aiming for, the deeper mindset shift. It's moving you from thinking about your music as just isolated tracks. I wrote a piece today, I'll write another one next week. Moving away from that, towards viewing your entire output as a cohesive, professional, production-ready suite.
Like thinking like a soundtrack composer from day one.
Exactly. You're not just making individual cues, you're architecting an interconnected soundtrack, a complete dramatic work. Every piece is engineered, polished, and mixed, not just to be heard as background music, but to function as a strategic asset. Something designed to impress music supervisors, to launch a career, that finished 12-track portfolio functioning as a single, powerful statement. That's the real product here. Beyond any single technique, that's the transformation.